going to be talking about two things. There's a lot of parents that have reached out to us because we've been speaking so much netball. We've been saying, hey, man, we can't wait. We're going to be supporting netball. We're going to be going down. And then there was an issue of, tickets are gone. And then we asked, who are the tickets sold to, especially those during the South African matches? Are they being bought by South Africans? And what kind of South Africans are buying them? What I mean when I say what kind is, I went and I looked it up as well. But I want to just get confirmation. How much do you think a ticket, one person, and a lot of us have daughters. I mean, once you get to a certain age, you play recreationally, but the young ones, primary school, high school, and maybe even those starting varsity are still very active in netball, and they love netball, and they want to go watch the matches, particularly because we want to support the Proteas during their own World Cup. You saw what happened when we got out there and supported their cricket ladies, right? We supported the cricket team. We filled up the stadiums. They made it all the way to the final because you and I were there. Every single stadium was packed. They could feel that love, and they did ever so well. We want to do the same for the netball girls. So how much are the tickets? I'll let it simmer with you. Try have a guess. How much are you willing to pay for one ticket to go watch a netball match? Because maybe I'm just being ungoqolonguyen. I'm being a miser maybe. I'm thinking, no. How much do you think, and how much are you willing to pay to watch a South African match or a match during the Netball World Cup in South Africa? And it's a World Cup. So bear it in mind, guys. I mean, let's not be ridiculous. It's a World Cup. How much are you willing to pay? I'll tell you a little bit later on when we speak to Patience Chikombana, who's the chairperson of the local organizing committee, checking status of readiness, and then we'll have a touch on that as well. Right now, though, the conversation that we need to have, because cricket in Zimbabwe was looking so good just a fortnight ago. So much support for it, and everybody had hopes. Fidoz was there all the way in Zimbabwe. She's the ESPN Cricket Info correspondent. She's back in Cape Town. Fidoz Munda now joins us. Fidoz, thank you so much for joining us. The energy that came with your voice and your body and your being when you're in Zimbabwe, is it still with you?
A little bit, although unfortunately Zimbabwe, as you know, will not be participating at the World Cup.
It must have been as if there was a death and national mourning in Zimbabwe when that result finally came out.
It was very much like that. People were bitterly disappointed, having watched the team go unbeaten through the group stage. And I think it was always going to be challenging for them to play down in Bulawayo, where conditions are more spinner-friendly. But really, Zimbabwe only have themselves to blame. They lost badly to Sri Lanka, who were really the most clinical side at the event. And then they lost the match to Scotland that really they should have won. They had Scotland 170 for 7. They let them get to 230, and they were unable to chase that score. So that's really on them, and I'm sure that they will reflect on and think about that in the weeks to come. But yeah, it's too late for them now. No World Cup this time.
I saw a message from Sikandar Raza that was quite emotional.
I think all of them were very emotional. I mean, Richard Ngarava also posted something on social media apologizing to the fans. I think for someone of Sikandar Raza's age, maybe the thought of another 50-over World Cup is just a step too far. Him, Craig Irvin, Sean Williams, they're all in their mid-30s. And although the next World Cup will be co-hosted by South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Namibia, so they won't have to qualify for it, 4 years is quite a long time in cricket, and especially one-day cricket, which it's long, it takes it out of you, and you've got to keep fit and keep in form for a very long period of time to get to that event.
It kind of feels like there's a show that plays on TV called I Blew It, of people that blow their millions after having won the lotto or getting them from wherever it is they get them. It felt like that because it felt like it was in their hands. And when you look at the margins in which they lost as well, you're thinking, was it pressure too much? I mean, you at home, one would have thought that this would have buoyed you to do better, but it felt like they blew it.
Yeah, most certainly. I think that's, it's not harsh to say that. I think that's exactly what happened. I think that, Zimbabwe, much like a lot of the other teams that don't play cricket consistently, when they get into real pressure situations, don't always know how to handle it. And that's no fault of theirs. It's really a system that doesn't allow them to play as much cricket, where they're getting themselves constantly reminded of and constantly honed in the skills of winning in tough situations. So, that could be part of it. But definitely, I think they can look at many performances through the tournament where they were very reliant on Sean Williams, who was the top run scorer with 600 runs, which is really incredible for a tournament of that nature. as well as Sikandar Raza. And really, if one of those two didn't come off, then Zimbabwe found themselves in trouble.
I wonder, though, Fidos, and if you're just joining us, we're speaking about Zimbabwean cricket. They failed to make it to the World Cup. They will not be going to the World Cup after having hosted the tournament and doing so well in the early rounds, but they're failing to win those last two games, especially that Scotland game, which one would have thought was, going to be a winner for them. I wonder, is it one of those where maybe it was a good thing that they didn't? Because when you look at who they are under pressure, I wonder how they would have done at the World Cup.
Yeah, it's a good question, and I think that question will be asked also of the teams that are going to the World Cup. So Sri Lanka looked the part throughout. They were unbeaten through the tournament. They bowled every side out. They certainly looked like the dominant side of the 10 that were in competition in Zimbabwe. But the Netherlands, they lost games on occasion. They lost to Zimbabwe in their opening game. They scored over 300 at Harare Sports Club, and they couldn't defend it. Then they beat the West Indies in that super over, which is really... I think that's what gave them the belief that, they could potentially go through to the World Cup, and they beat Scotland and they beat them well in what was a must-win game. But they're certainly not the final package. There'll be a lot of questions over their performance as well. That said, you have to win when it matters to get to the World Cup, and they did that.
I heard one pundit say it was a gift and a curse to play at home for Zimbabwe, because it was a gift in that they had all the support that they were so excited about. But when it got to the crunch, it was the very support that was overwhelming for them.
I don't know if the support was overwhelming. I think they really thrived off seeing people enjoying cricket, people filling stadiums at a tough time for the country economically, people spending money really where there isn't a lot of money to spend. And the hope is that, the fan base for cricket will grow, that people will attend games in the same numbers and with the same passion. Because as a co-host in 2027, that's what they'll be relying on.
Do you think it'll carry through, though? I mean, with what's happened now, them failing, with all the support that they had, I mean, the country was cricket mad for that couple of days, or maybe even a little bit longer. Do you see that momentum carrying Zimbabwe on? And now football is coming back as well, with the world governing body, FIFA, saying, hey, we'll get in and we'll restore order as far as football in Zimbabwe is concerned. So they've got competition in football. They had that run where it was just them that were doing the things. Do you see it carrying on over and above that?
Yeah, that's also a tough question. I mean, I think the biggest challenge for Zimbabwe is that they don't have a lot of fixtures. So it's difficult to maintain support when really, you don't really see the team in action that often. They will play they have to qualify for the 2024 T20 World Cup. They'll be going to the qualifiers in Namibia later this year. And if they do that, then they will play, and really they should get through those qualifiers. They'll play at the T20 World Cup in the Caribbean next year, around about this time. So that'll be a good tournament to just raise awareness and support. But then, really the challenge is that fixtures, people don't really want to play them. Financially, it's difficult for them. So if they're able to get, a fairly steady stream of fixtures, then I think they could keep momentum going. Of course, the challenge is finding those fixtures and being able to host those matches.
At some point, we need to start focusing on our own business. And by that, I mean the Proteas and how we're looking for the World Cup. But I mean, a very hard luck to Zimbabwe. I mean, they had not only Zimbabweans cheering them on, but I think SADC as a region was behind Zimbabwe. It would have been such a great achievement had they been able to break through and make it to the World Cup. But hard luck to the entire nation that came out to support their own. Now we need to do the same and start focusing on our Proteas. Those are the conversations we're going to be having moving forward. I appreciate you and thank you so much for always joining in.
Sure, thank you.
There it is, ESPN cricket info correspondent all the way down in Cape Town. She's just come back from Zimbabwe, Fidos Munda, where she had been following the Zimbabweans national team on what looked like a Netflix documentary style qualifications to the World Cup at home. But it wasn't to be. They failed to qualify. They're out of there. They've got to start over. They've got to rebuild and hope that the future holds something better for them. Now, I asked you a question a little bit early on. It will be answered on the show. How much are you willing? Malcolm's sitting right in front of me. Malcolm presses all the buttons on the show. Show of hands, Malcolm. Just show me. Oh, you can speak, actually. The mic is on.
Yeah.
Taking your daughter to go watch a netball match during a World Cup, how much are you willing to pay per ticket? How much do you think is fair? Not how much you're willing, because nobody wants to pay. How much do you think is fair?
150.
150 each.
Yeah.
It's a World Cup.
Yeah, 150 is at home.
All right, let's take a break. I'm getting some of your voice notes on 060-552-7303 via the question I asked. How much are you willing to pay for a ticket to go? Timmy, perhaps if you can look up how much were the tickets during the Cricket World Cup that just passed now, and how much were the tickets during the FIFA World Cup in 2010? Just look that up. Give me the cheapest ones. I want the cheapest ones. Give me the range. Let's do a little bit of comparison here. But some of your voice notes are hilarious. In what you're willing to pay. Let's not say what are you willing to pay. What do you think is fair? Because once you say willing, what do you think is fair? What's a fair amount to pay? Whether you're willing or not, you're like, ish, yeah, it's not what I want to pay, but it's fair. Give me that. The WhatsApp number is 060-552-7303. We move on now from cricket. And we speak a little bit of, not a little bit, because till top of the hour now, where we take your calls at 18:45. It's all about netball. We're looking forward to it. The SABC and SABC Sport doing a countdown, supporting the pro-tier ladies as far as netball is concerned. It's going to be down in Cape Town. Hopefully the weather is going to be a little bit better as well. Former Vice President of Netball South Africa, Christine Dupree, now joins us on the line. Christine, thank you so much for joining us and welcome to the show.
Thank you.
16 days to go. Are you excited?
I'm very excited. I'm very excited for the players that have worked very hard to be there and also to see them showcase their talent.
Well, your excitement is also a little bit dimmed because it's not all excitement as far as you're concerned.
I've always been, I've always stood up for players. I think from their side, it is excitement. I think they've got a lot of things right. But within Netball South Africa, there's a lot of things that are not right. You're right.
So what is it that you are aggrieved about that you feel is not right?
The main thing is that I think there's a lot of money spent in other areas where it should have been focused on the actual players, getting them ready, giving them the game time that they desperately need to go out and play against the 1, 2, 3, 4 in the world. I'm sure the players are desperate to up their rankings. And at the end of the day, you're not going to get them if you don't get the game time. And we spent millions on a road show with a trophy. That it could have been put towards the player preparation.
You don't think the trophy tour was important?
I think it would be fantastic once we've won the trophy to go ahead and go and do it. Yes, absolutely. I think showcasing netball in all the districts is definitely important. I just think it could have been done a different way. Maybe taking the pro-tier players to all the different districts, doing coaching clinics with them, actually selling netball and selling our players to the people, letting them know who our players actually are. They just see them on TV. They're not actually getting to interact basically with our players, because 90% of them will never be able to afford firstly to go to the World Cup because the tickets are expensive. Plus, obviously, flights are also expensive, exorbitant, and only 7,000 people. Morning, 7,000 people in the afternoon. And then we also have to accommodate the New Zealanders, Australians, and the English supporters that are coming this way as well.
And I hear you. It would be nice to profile the girls a little bit better, the ladies a little bit better. And it happens, throughout here because we're always having them on. The netball season just ended, though. So I don't think it would have been possible to grab the ladies out of what they were doing in the league to, trot across the country doing all the PR that they needed to do, the PR that the team had put together, I thought was great to galvanize people around support of the World Cup. But I completely hear you. So that's your only gripe, to say, hey, we could have done better in spending the money rather than on a trophy tour to publicize the ladies a little bit more, to get them out there a little bit more. I think that's fair enough. Is that your only gripe? Because if that's it, then it's something I'm pretty sure a phone call could have sorted out. Surely there should be a little bit more looking at the fact that now Afriforum has stepped into it as well.
Yeah, Afriforum has stepped in because there's a lot of things that haven't been right within Netball South Africa, a lot of things that get swept under the carpet. And we need Afriforum, the likes of Afriforum, to come forward and actually help and assist. Yes, definitely. Help
and assist in what exactly? I'm just trying to get to the core of what the issues are. What is it that is so, on the eve of the World Cup, and I don't think it's one of those things where you keep quiet until the visitors are gone before we speak about it. I'm happy to speak about it, but what is the issue? Yes, I hear you. We could have used money a little bit better in promoting and used the players a little bit more. We can have that conversation, but surely there's a little bit more than that. There must be something pressing if Afriforum's coming on.
There are, but there are people standing up and talking for their own things, and I don't think I am the one to talk on their behalf.
So for you, that was it? The money spent on a trophy?
for me, and not just on the trophy, I just feel that the players have not been prepared enough. They've had 4 years to prepare these players. Things should have been in place. Instead, we tell our Spar Protea players, go play in a TNL, where the top 5 school teams in the country would have annihilated some of those TNL teams. So I just don't think the standard was right. We should have been playing other countries in Africa. We talk about we're bringing it to Africa. We talk about wanting to prepare Africa. We want to put Africa on the map in the netball world. Why haven't we done it? Why did we not go play against Malawi? Why did we not go play against Uganda?
Are these all new issues, Christine? Are these all things that have just come up in the last couple of months?
No.
Or is this something that's ongoing, that's been ongoing?
There's plans in place. The legacy program was written 4 years ago. They haven't implemented according to how it was.
And the reason I'm asking is because you were there as vice president as well. During your tenure,
Absolutely.
did you raise these concerns? Is this something that that if we look at minutes from meetings, you're going to be heard saying, hey, guys, what about this? What about this? Is this something that's been written down as your concern during your tenure as vice president?
Absolutely. We did play a lot of countries when I was vice president and head of high performance in my time. We also asked the coaches to put their plan forward on what they need to prepare the team for the 4 years. But I can tell you what the coach put forward is definitely not what duly happened. So, and the coaches have a lot of say in the preparation of the teams. Norma Plummer was brought in now at the last minute, and we've got a president saying, got to have a medal, got to have a medal. What's the coach saying? Maybe ask the coach. How does she feel? I've heard some of her interviews, but maybe that's a question you should be putting to the coach.
Why did you leave Netball South Africa?
I wasn't voted back in.
Are you a little disgruntled?
Absolutely
Surely.
not. Absolutely. No, I'm actually not.
You loved being there. It was a position of power. It was a position you enjoyed. It was a position of influence where you could air out these views. You're no longer there because you were not voted back in. Surely that must rub you up the wrong way.
No, absolutely doesn't. I've actually been quiet for 18 months. It hasn't really bugged me. But when I see how they actually start dealing with some of the other people, it does upset me. And a lot of people, if they're going to stand up and talk now, they're going to lose their positions. And I've actually got nothing to lose. So I will stand up on their behalf. And, that's basically it. I'm not disgruntled at all. Definitely not.
How do you think we're going to do in this World Cup?
My heart and my brain are in conflict with each other. My heart would really want nothing more than our players to walk away with the gold medal. Love them all to bits. My brain is telling me something different.
I'd love to hear what your brain's saying.
No, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to disappoint players. I don't think they're going to get what they want. That's all I'm going to say.
Do you think they're going to place it all?
Depends on the day, eh? Depends on the day.
Christine, we appreciate you. Like I said, I mean,
Thank you very much.
it's okay. No, thank you very much. Christine Dupree, the former vice president of Netball South Africa. You make that what you will. So let's get Afriforum on the line now. Do we have them? We do have Afriforum on the line as well. Ronald Peters on the eve of the biggest spectacle in World Cup netball coming to South Africa. Ronald Peters is the manager of sport at Afriforum. He now joins us. I read the articles online. I went through them. Ronald, thank you so much for joining us and welcome.
Thank you very much.
Please do bear. We did let Netball South Africa, who are regulars on this show, their president, Mrs. Cecilia, is a regular on the show. We did let them know that we're going to be doing this show, and we did invite them onto the show as well. We did not get a response, which is something we're fast becoming used to, which we shouldn't. Ronald, thank you so much. I read the articles. I saw, what Afriforum is about, but as far as this is concerned, how does this complaint even come to you for you to take it on?
I think the individuals who've approached us has exhausted all other platforms and unfortunately have received no assistance. And I think after that they decided to approach Afriforum, seeing that we are a civil rights organization and that these issues that has been brought about by our documentary is of public knowledge, or should be of public knowledge and public interest.
Are you at liberty to tell us who it is that brought it forward to you? Who those heroes are?
Just repeat the question.
I'm saying, are you at liberty to let us know who it is that brought it to you?
So there's a number of individuals that's brought information to us. I don't know if you've watched the documentary that we've published. It's public knowledge. So those individuals that's part of the documentary, as well as more individuals that's approached us after the publication of the documentary that we're not going to mention now, but will definitely be made public in the short future.
If you were to sum up to me what the issues are, what it is that Afriforum would like to put forward, what the main issues are that you're squabbling with this as far as this is concerned, what is it?
So I think in general it's mismanagement in Netball South Africa, victimization that's taking place from individuals in power. There's also cases of sexual abuse that's being brought under the attention of Netball South Africa's management, as well as governing bodies of the sport, and that's not received sufficient support. So there's a number of situations that has been brought to our attention, and I think none is more important than the other.
Let's begin with the victimization one. Pay to unpack that for me.
So there's a number of cases, once again, when we just speak about victimization. Some of it is of coaches that approached us that has been victimized by the president of Netball South Africa in a number of ways. After the publication of our first documentary, there's more people that's come out who have experienced
for the benefits, Ronald, sorry to interrupt you, for the benefits of those, unlike myself, who've watched the documentary, can you please, when we say victimization by the president, Ms. Cecilia, what are we talking about? What does victimization mean?
So victimization means that you are specifically taking out a person in their personal capacity and ensuring that they cannot perform their duties due to a personal vendetta, or that you are highlighting behaviors or trying to motivate behaviors that's not supported by facts, and that has a negative impact on an individual.
Okay, and then the other one was mismanagement. Are we talking about mismanagement of funds, mismanagement of what is being mismanaged by whom?
So there's once again. So I think a 5-minute interview is not enough to unpack.
Just highlights.
But it is mismanagement of funds, but it's also mismanagement of resources and time, and individuals that's been employed in positions that's not necessarily equipped to fulfill that position. And yeah, I think it's mismanagement of the sport in general as well, and these activities that's outside of the constitution of Netball South Africa that's included in the documentary. So there's truly a lot happening at this stage, and I would really recommend that if you are interested in this case, and for your viewers as well, that they go and have a look at our first documentary that has been published.
And lastly, sexual abuse.
Yes, so we have a case of a minor that was sexually abused a few years ago, that we are hearing the case in September in court, where our private prosecution department is assisting the victim. This case was brought under the attention of the president of Netball South Africa, but also of SASCOC and their governing bodies, and they failed to intervene. So that's forced someone like the private prosecution of Afriforum to get involved in the case and support the victim.
What's the response been from everything that you've put forth from Netball South Africa?
So I think the same as that you've received for comments from Netball South Africa at this stage. They've not given any comments. We've also asked SASCOC to intervene with an independent investigation into the allegations, and we've received no response from them as well. I think it's in the light of the World Cup coming on, and they want to protect the image of the World Cup, but we will not stop to ensure that the truth gets out, and what's truly happening behind the scenes in Netball South Africa gets out, and that the people that are victimized and suffer due to the behaviors of these people are helped and supported.
And there's, extenuating proof to prove all of these allegations that are sitting with you, and it's not what many have said, a witch hunt on the president of Netball South Africa.
It's most definitely not a witch hunt. I think the number of people that's come out, especially after the first publication, about information makes it very clear that it's not a witch hunt. And it's not only against the president of Netball South Africa. There's other executives that implicated as well. So most definitely not a witch hunt. And there is a lot of facts on the table as well.
Ronald, we appreciate your time and thank you very much. We're going to follow up on the story, of course, as it goes. Like we said, in a quick 15-minute, there's no ways we can get to the crux of it, but we wanted to table it so that it's there, and in future interviews we can build up on the conversation we just had. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Manager of Sport at Afriforum, Ronald Peters there. Like I said, there's so many layers to this onion at the moment that everybody's trying to make sense of. The documentary, I'll give you the details to it so you can go out there and check it out if you're so pleased. Your voicemails are coming in thick and fast. How much is that ticket? How much would you be willing to pay? It's Sports Out Amplified with Andile and the mighty Metro FM. And, I think it's very important. If you listen to the show, you know our support for Netball South Africa. You know how we've been supporting them and how we continue to support them and how we're going to do so. But it's only fair that it doesn't look like we only tell one-sided stories of those that we favor. And we do. We favored Netball South Africa. We favored the girls and we favored everything they've done. This is new information that's come to the light. And just go on the Afriforum page on YouTube and just type in there the true state of South African netball. I think that's where the documentary is. It's on YouTube under the Afriforum page, the true state of Netball South Africa. I remember seeing it a while back when it did come out. The first one, I think this is the second one. And as far as the former vice president is concerned, and I listened to Christine Dupree, I'm not sure if she was just too nervous to speak her mind here, but that was neither here nor there as far as what she had to say in particular. The Afriforum accusations, a lot bigger. Victimization, sexual abuse, mismanagement of funds, etc., etc. And those are going to have to be proven in a court of law. But it's not things that we could turn a blind eye on because we're supporting the team, as we did with Banyana Banyana. Cecilia's been nothing but kind to us. She's come on. She's always answered the questions asked her. This is the first time I think we've asked her to come on. And because some of these things are sub judice, they felt they couldn't come on. They focused on the World Cup and they don't want to change that focus. I can respect that. But it doesn't mean that we won't take it on. We will. With that being said, though, let's move on to another netball conversation. A little bit more fun this time around. We've got my patient Shukombana on the line, chairman of the LOC. My patients, thank you so much for joining us and welcome to the show.
Good evening, Andile, and good evening to your listeners as well.
Are you well?
I'm good, thank you, man. It's cold, but we're good.
Yeah, man, it's cold and we're hoping for warmth brought by the Proteas down in Cape Town. What's the state of readiness looking like at the moment? Have we had any teams arriving? Are we starting to see balls going up? What's going on at the moment? How do you excite us? Where are we as far as the World Cup is concerned?
Yeah, look, the team has been working very hard, led by Priscilla Masisi. On Friday, we're expecting the first team of Australia to arrive in the country, followed by Jamaica. Our Proteas are being in Stellenbosch as well. We're starting to set up the arena in City ICC. So look, we're doing all our best. Obviously, taking from the heart that has been created by the Trophy Tour as well. So we are now at the last end of finalizing all the things to make sure that we are ready by the 28th.
We're speaking to Patience Chikombana, chairman of the local organizing committee. We've been having a guest on our Patience since the show started, because we had so many people call us, and I had people actually on the flight to Cape Town on Saturday morning have a conversation to me about this. The price of tickets for the World Cup. How did you guys arrive, or what was? I mean, is it World Netball? Is it part of what the LOC had to be a part of? How did you guys arrive at the ticketing prices?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's a global event, and once it becomes a global event, in terms of how you structure your ticketing, you need to be cognizant of both your local and the national and the international. So I think it was based on that, but I think you all know as well in sport that in most cases your ticket sales also has got more impact in terms of revenue for the organization or for that particular structure.
I mean, when you look at the rand versus everybody else, I mean, they're coming in with the Australian dollar, etc. They can definitely afford a lot better than we can. Was there ever a conversation about maybe locals should have some sort of preferential rate?
Yeah, look, we had those kind of discussions because, I mean, also taking trends from some of the events that we hosted here in the country. And sadly that at this moment when you look at the pound and all that, it's really unfortunate, you know. So look, it's one thing that was worrisome to us. But look, I must say to you that there's a lot of tickets that have been bought by the South Africans. And I think it's all because of the love of the game. Even though our worry is that we would have loved even those that can't, you know, to be part of it. But we're just hopeful that we're just going to make sure that those that really love netball, even if the ticketing is the way it is, somehow there should be ways that we have more South Africans in this event.
Well, let's break the news to those that are listening. What is the ticketing price, Patience? How much is what does it range from? From how much to how much?
Yeah, look, the cheapest it's 700. I'm talking adults, and then obviously the most expensive are the ones for semi-finals and finals, which start from 1.2.
You said that so fast. They start from?
Yeah.
Listen, I for one don't think that is an issue. I don't. I mean, because the arenas are way smaller than those comparing it to cricket, rugby, and soccer as well. The arenas are a lot smaller. We've got so many international guests. We want Netball South Africa and the economy in South Africa to make a little bit of money in this as well. So I'm all for it. I understand how niche this is, so I'm not complaining about that. I just wonder then, are we going to be seeing, and this was the question I was asking, we're going to see a lot of support for our Proteas in particular. We're going to see their opposition who bought tickets from wherever they were for much cheaper be the ones that fill the arenas, and that's what could potentially break my heart in this situation.
Yeah, no, I understand it. But obviously there is a mechanism that has been put forward in making sure that mainly on your Proteas games at least you should have more South African for that kind of sport. Yeah.
Listen, thank you so much for taking my call, and this was fun. So don't stress, hey.
No, thank you so much,
Chairman of the local organizing committee. She had her heart in her throat there for a second, but it was a fun conversation. So 700, the cheapest ticket. We're going to play some of your voice notes and take your calls when we come back. I'd love to hear what your guesses were. And yeah, rugby with as big a place as what Loftus was. Tickets go up to 3,500. I think with the cheapest one being just under 2,000 rands. You know, the cricket, I think they were about $300. But take a look at the numbers. So if cricket is sitting at 300 with that many numbers, with the smaller arenas where we're having our netball, 700-800 going up to 1,002, you tell me.
Good evening, Andile. This is Shama Selishe from Davidson. I think 200 will do, but then why Melugube 200? Because it's sports in Patala Malingo sport 50 rand, right? No, I think 100 rand would do then. Yeah, let's go for 100 rand. Yeah, not more than that. Hey,
Andile, good evening, my brother, and good evening to all Metro FM listeners. I think 300 rand will do, though I want to go to watch the netball,
300?
Yeah, in this economical situation. So I hope
Kasi bus kwasa so na 350.
The Proteas will do. Coach Namaplama, I know you are a very good coach. Moses Mukwana from Kokoida. Thank you.
Thank you, Moses. Always appreciate you.
Mr. A, how's it? Donald in Maftown.
Tony?
Northwest. I wouldn't pay anything over $400 for a single match, considering the fact that in the netball tournaments or the leagues, a ticket is between $30 and $50.
I appreciate that you're a person that goes to those.
So you can just make a comparison to that. Yes, there's a lot of money being pumped into the World Cup, but asking fans to pay close to $800, it's not fair at all.
Andile Jimmy Magode busy kono fumotsepe le paralaka e hatona bra phefo be thobetha Andile le batho ba re ke mebala Andile I think 50 rand me bra e tla ba sharp 50 rand ba ka ya fota me bra Jimmy Magode busy kono fumotsepe dangima
artlele Jimmy awu
auspicious sort I think because it's a World Cup, you need to pay at least $1,000.
Thank you, Sbu.
It's a World Cup. It's not like any other.
It's a once in a lifetime.
So it's a World Cup. Pay $1,000. Take your kids. It's okay. That's what I'm willing to pay.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much, there, Sbu. I'm willing to pay 1,000, which means at a push you can go all the way up to 1,002 for those later on games there. What do you make of our conversations here this evening? Give us a call on 086 0002160. Hey, I hear we have a surprise call. Do you have a surprise call? Hey, my daughter. Ubani ngabe sekhuluma nathi ke manje izusa manje siqonde ke manje ngoba phela ngobe ngikhuluma no Innocent.
Hawu hey kunjani
uphilile Innocent
uphezulu lokufaka lomthetho ukuthi ungibize ngegama lesingisi ngiyaphila kunjani
very well ladies and gentlemen ukhuzani umpungose is who we're talking to right now uzibuza ukuthi ufunani kushow yesport ukhuzani but here he is talking to us here live on Metro FM Sports are amplified with Andile because ufunani esportini umculo uphele kuThashi
lalela ndoda phela inkulu indaba ingomhla ka 23 kuJuly kuyobe kuyiSunday yabo la nje eUJ la ituze kwakho la yabo so inkulu indaba la khona kuzobe kukhona iGame to Soccer Celebrity Games Tournament gobe konakala kakhulu igqomu igospel hip hop umaskandi leyabhupha baba
so it's a celebrity soccer tournament leyabhupha
kube kudlala uba 250,000 rand
kube kudlala uba
lalela ka I'm captain of Maskandi so I will mention my players I don't know other players ngiphethe ontencane ngiphethe onjoko ngiphethe ongelovini ngiphethe okwazimpele ngiziphethe nami uqobo
udlala phi nendawo siswini
ngiphethe amaphethe I'm a striker baba imina kahle ozo decide ukuthi we are winning or we not winning I'm a decider
Ndlovu kaKhuba
ngizayibambela ngafela khona if it means imele imlezi isale enkundleni it will be
hey phahla lihlokolo oh and then captain abanyoba
angizwa
captain abanyoba
captain utira kwiGqom uMakoya Bearing
okay
bayenza seAfro uyena ozobe kuphi eDurban eyibophele zigcwele ibhasi bese ngala kwigospel khona uDumi Mkokstad uyayithinda zonke zegospel othina oJumbo kube konakala kakhulu lapha khona noBabu no Squid ay asazi kobe kwenze njani lapha na bese kuthi ngalana ke kuGazlam lapha na kuBig Zulu lapha na hayi ke uphethe Java lapha uphethe Casper Nyoves uphethe Questa uphethe zonke insizwa
ngizokuthiwa uCasper nzima kabi ngangadlala nawe uyalishaya ishoti mfana omncane uCasper Nyovest
uyashaya i-problem but if mana lela ngutshela ukuthiwa uyalishaya ngithi ishoti basho njalo so if you exist among the West you become the best now bazoface the best of the best and they will become the West.
Kuzani awubanike futhi kudlalwa phi ngoluphi usuku?
Kudlalwa ngomhla ka-23 kuJuly laphana UK AW Muller Stadium. Amasango kavulwa ngo-9 ekuseni. Amathikithi bengahamba kwathola web ticket Pick and Pay Shoprite nase-computer ticket bangazibawathole ngabana nje phansi bekwazi ukuyibonela ama-celebrate eshela nenkundla. Unumber 1 kuyohamba no-250,000, number 2 alale no-100,000. Asibonane khona noma kanjani.
Ngiyabonga mina Khuzani there Mpungose joining us, Maskandi artist. Of course, the reason we're doing that is because you can watch those matches on 404 on SABC Sport. We're going to be in support of that, not on 404 rather, on SABC Sport on our channels. We're in support of that and we are a partner to that there. Let's go to Tsapo to get back to regular programming out in Kempton Park. Tsapo.
Hey, how's it?
Yeah, but I'm busy with Jubilee.
This is strong, man. Sunday to Sunday. Why?
Talk to me. What's up?
No, man. I've got two things to mention here. Firstly, good luck to the ladies. I hope they bring this one home.
100%.
Yeah. But secondly, the lady that you spoke to earlier on, what's her name?
Christine.
The one that she was talking about money being
the former vice president of Netball South Africa. Yeah.
But how does this thing work? Because now she mentioned something like they're not prepared and stuff. While on the other hand, Banyana, they are prepared, but there's no money to misuse on them.
I mean, the federations are different and their funding models are different. So I guess you can't compare the two per se.
No, I'm not comparing.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the money here.
Yeah, like I said.
Some are not prepared, but it's being misused. And some are prepared, but there's no money. We're always having difficulties when it comes to Banyana with funds. It's always been the story.
Yeah, I mean, if you listen to our show yesterday, South African Football Association has been accused of mismanagement of funds as well. I think the gentleman's name is Bart Henderson, who's written a 44-page forensic report on the mismanagement and the misuse and just the structure of being wrong and accusing Dr. Dennis Jordana of being an executive president, etc. So that the way that the money is used, suffer a little bit different to what Netball South Africa have it. You heard her complain about the fact that there is money, but that money is being used for a trophy tour. The same trophy tour that's driving people down to Cape Town. So, you listen to that conversation and you're a smart man. I'm pretty sure you could read between the lines there.
No, I can. But I'm just saying, like, the attention that is being given to the ladies in netball, I wish it can be also given to Banyana.
100%. I appreciate you. Thank you so much there. Sazi, very quickly. Sazi?
Yes, Andy.
Go for it.
Good show. It's a compliment that other people in South Africa have is what is going to kill our sport. Absolutely nothing.
Sazi. And I know you've got such a great point to make, and I can hear it's a great point, but unfortunately I can also hear you on the road, and it's a very patchy line, so we couldn't hear you there. Thank you so much for that one, though. I appreciate it, and I hope that we're able to get that comment and perhaps play it out at a different time, because I could hear it was packed with passion as well. Bafana currently in action. It's the second half against Swaziland. It's still 0-0 at the moment. We're about to kick off in that second half. Thank you so much for that one, and for all the young men who are about to undergo the tradition of Ugoluga and come out on the other side as men. It's a beautiful tradition. It's a beautiful tradition that's been passed on from our great-grandfathers. It used to be that the spear that killed made you a man. I hope it doesn't kill you too. I hope that you come out and your parents go out there to make sure that the initiation school you go to is one that will make you a man and not make you a son. Underground. For myself, the Lights Camera crew, who are always amazing, for all of you watching us on YouTube, because of them, we appreciate you. And of course, for my team, Timothy Maranda, Malcolm Glovu, Thabo Nkwala, the genius, Pela, and it's all me.